Rugby ATL returning home today against the Toronto Arrows, trying to rebound from that first loss of the season to Rooney. Toronto Arrows, one of two remaining undefeateds here in the MLR. I'm Chris Makovic, alongside me Ross Davenport. Maria Martin will join us shortly. The Eastern Conference table at the top is Toronto, with DC putting some pressure on them, but Rugby ATL, they can get a win today, take advantage of the opportunity, they will jump to the top. And of course, remedy that loss from a week ago. That loss, though, starting with a great moment. Xander with a crafty finish after the chip over the top, but after that loss, it was all Rooney.
Yep, Atlanta got off to a great start, but the Rooney physicality really took its toll in the end, and the comeback effort fell just short for ATL.
Great physicality from Rooney as they were able to jump up the table with their road victory against Rugby ATL. The Toronto Arrows, though, it was all Sam Malcolm, their kicker last week, the player of the week in the MLR, 9 for 9 from the field when they were getting that victory at Seattle. But Ross, their offense, much more than that.
Yeah, Dan Moore, the captain, had 7 tries last year for the Arrows. Already has 4 this season. Got 2 of them here against Seattle. That wasn't him there, but you'll see him in just a second take one over the try, and after a loose ball here from the Seawolves.
He'll be wearing the 14 again on the wing today for the Toronto Arrows. So coming up, can Rugby ATL take advantage of the opportunity to jump to the top of the Eastern Conference? Well, Toronto undefeated, they'll have their say here on the road. It's the Toronto Arrows battling Rugby ATL here from Marietta, Georgia.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Major League Rugby. I'm Maria Martin, and I'll be on the sidelines for you today. Now, because Rugby ATL is playing the Toronto Arrows, it's only fitting that we talk about Canada. And there are two players from Rugby ATL that have ties to not only the country, but the international team. We'll start with Connor Keys, who's a substitute for today. He actually grew up wanting to play in the NHL. He had dreams of being a hockey player, and when he decided that that dream was not as obtainable as he thought, he decided to take rugby a little more seriously. His teammate on Rugby ATL and Team Canada since 2016 happens to be Matt Heaton. He is a co-captain here at Rugby ATL and has been a staple on this roster ever since we kicked things off this season. And he's back on that back row. You see him there at number 7, and he's there with a few more familiar faces this week. Guys.
Thanks, Maria. And as we look at the Rugby ATL starting lineup, Ross, a lot of rotation last week, not so much this week.
We have a bunch of changes, and back to what gave them success in those first two games for the most part. Martin Redlinghuis returns after what apparently was a bit of an injury. And the two Harleys back on the wing as well. And Xander van Skolkwijk goes from wing to fullback.
On the other side for the Toronto Arrows, we saw that rotation for Rugby ATL last week. This time around, it's the Arrows. Yeah,
just a couple of changes for the Arrows. It does mean some big-time finishes on the bench for the boys in blue. Stephen Ing comes in at hooker, as well as Peter Malazzo at the flank spot, which means 50 Canadian caps on the bench in the form of Andrew Quatrin at hooker, Rod Brower, who's looking to make his first appearance of the season, and Lucas Rumble at the back row.
In certain aspects, this Toronto Arrows side, really the Canadian national team, great chemistry, and we'll see that underway here for this Major League Rugby Week 4 matchup. Rugby ATL getting the opening possession. Rugby ATL again at 10 points on the table. Toronto Arrows tied with DC at 13. So Rugby ATL a win, they will be in the top spot entering next week.
One thing to watch earlier here, you see the Toronto Arrows had 3 players back there for that Kurt Coleman kick. They know what a dangerous African can be with his foot. Arrows putting the extra man back there to make sure they don't let that ball bounce.
There's Malcolm, the fullback. As we mentioned, the player of the week, 9 for 9 kicking, an incredible performance at Seattle. And funny enough, Ross, this Toronto side, they have not met an Eastern Conference opponent yet this season. All Western battles in their first 3.
The Eastern Conference has been on top of the West till today, 1-2 coming into this one. The Eastern Conference versus the West, trying to come back a little bit after a rough start, especially on the Seattle side of things.
Big takedown on the near side with the tackle at the 9 spot today. Ferguson for Toronto.
Yeah, Jamie McKenzie, the Canadian veteran, started the first couple of games, but then got injured. Should be back soon, though.
Muscling forward is Lesage, the Calgary native.
Yeah, I was going to say, well, I was about to say Atlanta winning the point of contact there, but it looks like they're a little too anxious over the back foot there. Or was it hands in the ruck? Perhaps hands in the ruck. This is where you can't make mistakes with, I was going to say Sam Malcolm might have a shot from here, but it's going to be Taylor Adams putting it to touch instead.
Taylor Adams has taken 1 conversion. Other than that, Sam Malcolm takes most of the kicking duties as this is sent out of play and well, our first line out of the action.
We'll see if the Arrows go with their full. They like to go with the 4-man as well. I have to think they'll probably go with the full down here inside the Atlanta 22.
Top 2 defenses as well so far in the young MLR season. 49 points allowed for Toronto, 51 allowed for Atlanta. Momsen nearly stealing that one as the whistle blows.
The referee's going to call that one not straight. Good pressure on that one there by Momsen. With Martin Redlinghuis back, gives Rugby Atlanta a little more at the line out.
First scrum of the day. And Duncan van Skolkwijk in control. The 2 brothers on the field together today again. Xander at the fullback spot after he was at the wing last week. We
asked Scott Lawrence about Duncan. Obviously a 10 through most of his collegiate career at Life, and he said he's been learning. He sees the field a little differently at 9 than most people because of his experience at 10. He's a strong communicator, and we'll get some more zip coming around the corner. We haven't seen much of him sniping around the sides of rucks and mauls just yet. Getting comfortable in his first pro season.
Resetting the scrum on the first attempt of the day.
Trying to put the pressure on, yeah. That was always coming.
Big win there for Toronto as they'll get it back.
Rugby ATL.
And we get to see our first chance at Sam Malcolm, see if he could knock this one through. Again, 9 for 9 last week against Seattle. He's making them from everywhere. Deep from the sidelines and right in front of the post as well. This one relatively difficult, not from his favorite side as a right footer.
We've seen already this season Coleman and Rugby ATL taking advantage of the quote-unquote small ball, getting some of these penalties going. And Toronto certainly did that last week, taking down the 2-time defending champions in Seattle.
One thing I wrote in my notes was that Atlanta has to be careful with discipline inside their own half, because this man will make you pay. See if he does it here.
Malcolm. Line drive off the post, and he has his first miss there of the day, and trying to bring it out of the back is Rugby ATL. They'll get good position out of Wheeler.
Yeah, we haven't seen much of the Harleys this year. I guess if he's going to have a kick off the post to get him involved. Harley with his sevens experience, he's used to running balls out from the back. Toronto not rolling away, and that'll be an easy clearance here for Kurt Coleman.
Line drive off the post. An early miss for Sam Malcolm.
Yeah, you saw Sam Malcolm. You can usually tell with a kicker, if he immediately turns away and picks up the tee, you can normally tell it's going to be good. He took an extra long look at that one, and for good reason, and off the post. So his streak comes to an end. One streak that is intact is Toronto have won 10 straight regular season games. Obviously, they had the semi-final loss to Seattle last year that ended their season, but obviously they have to have a bit of a strange schedule because of the weather in Toronto, with the early road games, this being their 4th in a row.
The second straight week, Rugby ATL facing a 2019 playoff side. Rooney and Toronto, the two sides that were eliminated in the semis last year. Tip back, another kick downfield.
That was nice work there by Ferguson, tipping it to his teammate. Nice kick to pin Atlanta back here.
Coleman sends it the other way.
And that clearance by Malcolm apparently went straight into touch. So that means the ball will come back to where it was kicked from. If you're outside your 22-meter line and the ball doesn't bounce into touch, it comes back to where you kicked it from. No gaining ground. And that's what happened there. Take a look at Atlanta's first line out here again. They've got plenty of options with Momsen, Deacon, and Redlinghuy's going to go with a 5-man here to start off.
Mon starting another match at the hooker spot, and we'll move to the left side. Coleman, a chip over the top. Whistle does blow on the back end. And offsides the call against Rugby ATL.
Offsides, Toronto ball.
And Toronto, beneficiaries so far of a few Atlanta mistakes here 8 minutes in.
Surprised Malcolm's not going to have a go from here. A very makeable angle.
Adams eyeing things up. They'll go for the line out.
Good kick. We've seen Rugby ATL have some trouble defending mauls close to their goal line. We'll see how they do here.
Stephen Ing, one of 2 players getting their first start of the season in the starting 15. He'll send it in.
Redlinghuy's causing chaos at the front there. Another Toronto throw that just gained a couple of yards.
Ing, the Ottawa native, 17 games played last year. Sends it in, an early maul for the Arrows. Still pushing ahead. Can Toronto get it in and down? No, it popped out back to Atlanta, and they'll get possession.
I'm not sure if it was knocked forward over the line. I think that's perhaps the call. No, they're going to say it was a bit of confusion here. Kurt Coleman was looking to take the quick 22 dropout.
And that's the discussion right now, how Atlanta wants possession.
It's perhaps stripped by an Atlanta player. If you strip the ball, it's not a knock-on. So that's the only thing I can assume that happened there, because if it was a knock-on, they would likely come back for the scrum.
Coleman sending it downfield, but plenty of blue kits in the area. High hang time on that. The missile missing it. And Momsen crawling forward. Coleman to left wing now. Nell gives it off. Redling Heiss over there. So is Heaton. Ferrante.
Yeah, first bit of real phase work here for Atlanta. It's going to be a not releasing or not rolling away. Excuse me there. Talk to Coach Silverthorne about Toronto's ability to get quick ball. Atlanta looking for the quick ball there, and the Canadians denying it. We'll see how much referee Luke Rogans allows that to happen. Tight angle here for Kurt Coleman, though.
Yeah, the Toronto Director of Rugby, Chris Silverthorne, working with not only a mostly Canadian side, but a side mostly that was with the Ontario Blues, the side he was the coach of ahead of the Toronto Arrows joining MLR. This side very tight-knit, and he's said he's really happy with the increased depth that he has in this year's squad, and of course the chemistry they have in their second year in the MLR.
Yeah, one thing that's going to help that matter is the America's Rugby Championship being moved to the summer. It used to be in February, March, and flat pass to the missile, but they had the advantage for the knock. So the America's Rugby Championship used to be in February, March, and they would completely decimate the the Toronto roster last season. But this season, it's being moved to the summer.
The amazing team live by the following rules: perform, move, function, recover, better, faster, longer, stronger. Request an appointment now at revolutionchiropractic.net. Rugby ATL is so grateful for the relief that Revolution provides.
Let's see if Atlanta have figured things out from that first disappointing scrum. Perhaps look to get that ball back to Ross Deacon a little quicker.
Duncan on Skulkfike.
Yeah, a little quicker back that time, and there's Deacon with the pickup.
Quick turn to the captain, Ryan Nell. Ball almost falls free. Coleman able to keep his feet. And Redling Heiss muscling ahead.
Yeah, it was a bit of a slow ball there. Kurt Coleman kind of caught in two choices. Looks like Toronto turned it over.
Did they have still in their own territory, but trying to get ahead, tipped away, and it comes back to Toronto. No knock on there.
Playing the advantage, they may come back for it here, yep. Looks like Duncan Van Skolkvik might have hurt himself.
He went down, and so did a teammate in that last battle for possession.
It's a nice little snipe on the side there by Tommy Della Vega. And this could be trouble. He looks to be in some pain. Two Atlanta players down.
Revolution Chiropractic, the amazing team.
Can't see the number on the other one just yet.
Perform, move, function, recover, better, faster.
Really not a good sign there, as
Request an appointment now.
Duncan has been the made number 9 in the lineup so far, the 3-time national champion at Life, and it's the missile also down. He's back starting after he did not play in the match against Rooney. We'll take another look here, Ross.
The official water delivery service of Rugby
Looked like they
ATL.
almost hit each other. I think the missile's head caught, I think it might have caught Duncan Van Skolkvik where it hurts.
All day long.
seems to be okay. He wasn't getting any attention, so that's a sign that perhaps that's exactly what it was. Missile, maybe just a jar to the neck, appears to be okay. Atlanta do have Sean Coughlin on the bench, who started last week and played very well. But the Missile looks to be all right here.
The Missile in his 3rd year in the MOR, 2018 with Seattle, and then Utah. 11 appearances last year.
Scored a try in that big win over NOLA a couple of weeks ago.
Our 3rd scrum of the day. And we'll see Andrew Ferguson, the Ontario native, with the ball in his hands. 10 appearances for the Canadian national team, but his last one coming in June of 2018. 2nd year with Toronto.
Has to be one of the youngest front rows in MLR for Toronto. 22, 2 of them are 22 and one's 23. They're all very good and causing more trouble here at the scrum for Rugby ATL. They're going to take it quick.
Quick restart after the offsides for the Arrows. And Toronto will get the line out. Exceptional care for an active life. Find your nearest barber clinic by going online to barberortho.com. They are available in 5 convenient locations across Georgia. Rugby ATL is so grateful for the help that Barber provides.
And here is Toronto going with that 4-man line out. The 2 jumpers in the middle. It's likely to be where they go. De La Vega with the grab.
Try the right wing now. Immediately meeting Rugby ATL. Still 0-0, 14 minutes in.
Oh, lovely inside ball.
Good offload there. Here comes Toronto, stiff arm and all the way in. It's a try for the Arrows as the winger Levas makes his way in.
Levas was just kind of hanging back there behind the main line of guys, and a lovely inside pass and a lovely running line by the Uruguayan. And he just sort of threw Duncan Van Skorpwijk off him for the try.
We've been talking about Canadian internationals, but how about the Uruguayan international? Getting one start in both of the last 2 World Cups.
Seemed like the Atlanta defense was in the right place. It was just a lovely line from Levas. Ryan Nell came over to help on the outside, and that left the gap there. A good start for the Arrows on the road here in Atlanta.
A stiff arm there of Duncan Van Skorpwijk. This will lead to a conversion attempt for Malcolm. 5-0 on the board after the try 15 minutes in. See if he can get 2 more for his side on the road.
It's a well drawn up play. One thing with the Atlanta defense, they're very young and quick, and they just overcommitted to the outside there and left that gap in the middle for Levas. One thing Scott Lance will have to be wary of here the rest of this game.
Tied 2nd in conversions made in the MLR, and that one good as well, his 10th of the season, and 1 for 1 on conversions on the day. 7-0 now to Toronto on the road.
A pretty formidable 2nd row there.
Now we'll throw it on down to Maria. We'll get back to her in a second as we await a Spider-Man and Batman to be ready for our interview. Now Toronto back in control. Knocking it ahead, collision in the air, tipped on, and more there with his tip. Winning it for Toronto, but here comes Rugby ATL the other way.
Oh.
Stays in play, but now it'll be coming back.
2 brothers looking to combine for the try. I'm not sure how the Arrows ended up losing that one. It looked like Harley Weir had been beaten in the air.
Knock on by Rugby ATL.
Get another look at it. Xander Van Skorpwijk
Toronto territory.
scampered down the 5-meter channel and tried to find his brother, but couldn't combine.
So it'll be a scrum now in favor of Toronto after they dodged that.
We'll see if the Atlanta scrum can put a bit of pressure on here. Toronto's looked strong though so far. In that front five especially. Atlanta tried to move them in that first scrum, and Toronto didn't move, and they just responded by getting the penalty.
Ferguson, the 27-year-old, trying to win it back, and indeed Toronto will.
It's a big tackle by Duncan Van Schalkwyk. Not too often you see a scrum half take down a back row like that.
Back in their own try zone, they'll kick it away. That will go down the field and out.
Duncan Van Schalkwyk was perhaps having a word with the referee there. He tried to charge down that kick and got completely taken out of the play. Doesn't look like either official saw what happened.
On to Mompson, and Atlanta back in business. Now Deacon muscling ahead with some help from his teammates. Duncan Van Schalkwyk leads the charge as Xander Van Schalkwyk on the outside lays it off to Harley Davidson. And they will reset.
Yeah, the Toronto back line was a good foot ahead of the back foot there.
Advantage to Rugby ATL.
Should be a very kickable penalty here for Kurt Coleman to get ATL on the board.
Saw one conversion off the
ATL
upright for
likes
Toronto
for
already.
points.
We'll see how Rugby ATL handles this one.
Yeah, both teams testing referee Luke Rogan with his offside line. Something any experienced rugby player will do is test a referee to see how much he's going to give you, especially on the offside line. But obviously, these referees are assisted by two very capable assistant referees, and they're all mic'd up. So if the main referee doesn't get it, the assistant referee will, and that's exactly what happened there, I think.
Coleman, 5 or 6 on his penalties this year.
Doesn't appear to be too much of a breeze.
This one up. And right down the middle, 3 on the board for Rugby ATL. And Rugby ATL sure with Coleman kicking, but also be sure with Pure. Pure Taqueria is just as famous for its margaritas as it is for their taco and queso dip, but most importantly, their friendly service. Head to Pure Taqueria, Inman Park, every away game to have fun with the Rugby ATL crew for the ITP viewing party. Now we'll go down to Maria with some superhero friends.
Recognize Batman and Spider-Man over there, not because they're superheroes, but because they are actually players for Rugby ATL. Harry Higgins is in the Batman uniform, and Tommy Wallace, who plays for the 404, is in the Spider-Man uniform. They're helping their teammates by giving them some high fives on the sideline. They each told me what a superpower they would like to have would be. Harry told me the ability to change time, and Tommy said the ability to help people at the snap of a finger. And guys, I think they got some pretty good dance moves as well.
Thanks, Maria, and it is a superhero day here for today's game, and it was great what Rugby ATL doing as every child under the age of 12 that showed up dressed as a superhero got in for free, expanding the youth crowd and, of course, expanding really the Marvel and DC friends that Rugby ATL has in the audience.
For sure, and hopefully they'll find some superheroes on the field here in the form of some of these Atlanta players. Off to a decent start. It's been a bit of a sloppy first 20 minutes, I'll say, from either side. A few silly penalties, a few knock-ons. Neither team really able to get into their flow. There's Duncan Van Schalkwyk getting a bit of some attention there.
Toronto leading 7-3 through their early try. Then Coleman responding with a penalty. Scooped up just outside the line. As Rugby ATL on the attack.
Yeah,
Von
You see Luke
Skolkvik.
Rogan. Oh, sorry, Chris. As you can see Luke Rogan keeping a close eye on that Atlanta off sideline, telling him to get back.
Line drive down the field that'll end up back with the Arrows. They'll exchange the favor with Malcolm kicking it. Coleman thought about it. He'll sling it on over. Here's Davidson, the former Raptor. He's taken down from behind. Rugby ATL has to set up shop. Seemed like they wanted to kick it down the field, but couldn't find the room.
Yeah, Coach Scott Lawrence talked about last week about Kurt Coleman's decision making. He didn't make the best decision when he caught that ball. He had to fake the pass and then ended up passing and put his teammates under some pressure and better clearance there.
Just escaping the block there, as it is Malcolm trying to kick it ahead. And it's right back to Rugby ATL. They'll kick it downfield. Ferguson now. He thought about it.
Yeah, good work by Ferguson, helping his fullback out. Another rolling away penalty. Rugby ATL's got to be careful of the breakdown here. I'm surprised Luke Rogan hasn't had a word in the ear of captain today. We have co-captains again, don't we, Chris? I think Heaton and
Yes.
Nell.
Do you want to be part of our inaugural season forever?
A little disappointed in his kick there, but he made touch. That's the most important thing. Doesn't matter how far you kick it, get it, make sure you get it into touch and get yourself the line out.
Unhappy immediately, and you mentioned that. Kickers can see it.
Oh,
Knocked down. Heaton had a knock on.
that would have been a fun race to watch. Heaton versus Colby Francis, the young second row. He can also play number 8, scored a few tries last season.
Knock on Rugby ATL.
Earlier, Maria talked about the Canadian connections on Rugby ATL, and that's one thing Coach Silverthorne talked to us about this week in their matchup with Seattle. It wasn't so much, he said, about revenge from that playoff loss last year. It was more about the connections between some of the players from British Columbia on Seattle and, of course, the Ontario connections of Toronto.
Now listen, provincial rugby in Canada is very, very serious, and yeah, Ontario, BC being the two real powerhouses in that department.
Ferguson, former Ontario Blues player. The outside, Lesage got it. The offload, a tough spot, and that did go out.
Yep, Atlanta defense holding up strong here, other than that try. Looking to get it wide quickly. Atlanta snuffed that one out and forced the turnover on the knock-on. See what they do here, if they can get a quality set piece out of this scrum.
The advantage here really is that they can really spread things out if they can work this to the right wing quickly. If everything goes according to plan, of course.
Sure. Plenty of pace on the wings with Wheeler and Davidson. Again, have been pretty quiet so far this season. Neither of them played last week. They can both score tries from absolutely anywhere.
Von Skolkvik.
Yeah, a little too much forward movement there from the Toronto scrum. Free kick here for ATL.
Deacon muscling ahead. Here comes Xander Von Skolkvik. He goes down but gets a few meters. Redlinghuis.
Big tackle by Ben Lesage to come across. He's a big physical presence. Made that presence felt there on that tackle.
Knock on Rugby ATL. Toronto ball.
Knock on there for Rugby ATL, and Toronto gets it back just like that. That's been the story so far. As soon as Rugby ATL gets something going, it seems something just doesn't go their way, and they haven't been able to really travel that deep into Arrow territory. Rugby ATL still second in the league in territory percentage at about 55%. There's Ferguson.
Atlanta with the shove on, but yeah, Toronto held up though nicely.
Long kick downfield for some more position. Back to Coleman.
We've seen a little more kicking today than I thought we would see from Toronto. That's a good kick there from Coleman. That's going to pin two forwards back inside the 22 for Toronto. We saw a forward kick last week, leading to a Rooney try. Now we've got the here come Atlanta the other way after Tommy De La Vega's kick wasn't particularly good.
Xander van Skolkvijk giving it off to his brother. Coleman to the left now. Nell off to the missile, cutting back inside. Gets a few extra meters.
It was a little flat there from Atlanta. You'd like to see perhaps a little more depth, but it does help you get over the gain line when you come that flat.
Ferrante muscled ahead. Now the missile cutting in. Advantage to Rugby ATL, but this will come back.
Yeah, Duncan wanted the quick tap, but the referee's going to say it wasn't taken from the correct spot. Not rolling away from Toronto, slowing down that ball.
Not rolling away.
Kurt Coleman likely going to put this one into the corner. See if Atlanta can get the catch and drive.
We'll do just that. Line out coming up for Rugby ATL. We mentioned the kicking game, Ross, and that's something Silverthorne told us was really a struggle for him and his guys practicing inside, training for this match with a snowstorm going on the past few days in Toronto.
I'm going to say there was an obstruction. I'd like to get another look at that one, perhaps. He was pointing at Marner Redlinghuis. You've got to be careful when you bring that ball down that you don't. It's very easy to do at lineouts. Get a player in front of the ball, trying to form that maul a little too quickly.
And this will allow Adams and Toronto to get out of a sticky situation near their own try zone. And they'll be out. And a line out for Toronto.
Toronto line out deep in their own territory. Let's make some noise for Rugby ATL.
Let's take another look at that line out. Brought down by Momsen. Yeah, you can see, I think it was Connor Keys. Oh no, it was Redlinghuis there. The second, when they came off that right side, it was Redlinghuis was in front of the ball.
Detroit taking it ahead, scooped up by Rugby ATL. Harley Wheeler now cutting back in.
He's such an energetic runner. Brings the crowd really into it.
Mopson.
Oh, another knock on. Come back for the original advantage, I think. Yeah.
Coming back for the knock on.
And they're going to come back for the original knock on by Toronto. No advantage gained by Atlanta, even though they did get a good 10-15 meters there.
And Mopson came off the bench in the last match and was able to get a try, get some momentum for them, trying to get some here. Unfortunately, facing the knock-on. And a reminder, Rugby ATL back in action at DC coming up next week. It's a 6 p.m. Eastern time start and a national broadcast on CBS SN. So we'll be back with you in about a month as Rugby ATL gets some national attention.
And Toronto back in action on Friday. That's one of the reasons for the 2 front row changes is the quick turnaround.
To the right side, Coleman. Xander van Skolkvijk almost losing it. Set up the ruck and try the left side. Mopson taking some players along with him.
He's been mighty impressive this season, Mopson on the run. He's another man that has been as well, Coleman.
The right side, Harley Davidson. Still in search of his first try of the season. The offload immediately to Mon. Big hit.
There. Yeah, Toronto coming up quickly.
Duncan van Skolkvijk taken down. It stays with ATL.
A dangerous tackle, and Luke Rogan's going to have a word with somebody here.
Against Toronto, sir is having a word with Toronto.
And a chat with Dan Moore about that tackle.
Coach Bradford's wife, Kara Bradford, is celebrating.
What's the strategy here? Do you kick it on the penalty, or?
Oh, you take the points from here. There's no doubt about it. Get yourself within a penalty at 7-6 against the top team in the Eastern Conference. Perhaps take that to the half. I think Scott Lawrence will be happy with that. Yeah, it's definitely high contact there from Colby Francis on that one. And a little snipe from Duncan Van Skolkwijk here again. Oh, man. I think the penalty was perhaps on the original hit, but the referee gave it there.
Yeah, Cellini really laying one in there. Another opportunity for Coleman.
See, anytime you're a scrum half and go sniping around the side, there's a good chance you're going to get clobbered by a big back row, a second row. That was the case there, although Duncan Van Skolkwijk's taken some big shots this year and bounced right back.
Coleman. Up and on through, and now ATL within one.
Yeah, Atlanta have been the better team here in the last 10 minutes or so. Have an extra 3 points as a result. Good shot of the standing room only sideline there.
Toronto, the early try, but Rugby ATL has been able to slow them down and get 2 penalties. Up and on through for Coleman. Taken down by Rugby ATL, quickly the other way. Harley Davidson weaving through traffic. Deacon, Coleman, Nell to the outside, Wheeler tiptoeing. They tried to drag him out.
What a job there by Harley Wheeler to keep that ball in play and flick it back in.
Ferrante, the former SUNY Potsdam player. Rellinghus, Davidson once more.
Good hands there by the big man, finding himself in a little bit of an unfamiliar position. Glad to get him going now with good quick ball.
Gleason, his second start of the season. Now moving to the left wing. The missile. He's been elusive today for the Arrows. Coleman over the top. Davidson was after it. It does go into touch.
Disappointing there to end those good bunch of phases with a kick straight into touch. Sure, Kurt Coleman had good intentions, but the execution wasn't there.
Be sure to follow the club on social media at Rugby ATL, and your online home for Rugby ATL is rugbyatl.rugby, where you can find out information on how to become a sponsor, the 2020 schedule, shop the team store, and more. Head to rugby.atl.rugby/tickets as well to reserve tickets to an upcoming game.
Another good sack there by Atlanta. Not allowing these Toronto mauls to take shape at the lineouts.
Cellini. Another meter or two as they move it to the right side. Quick offload there, it pops out. And it's back to Rugby ATL as it moved forward.
There's another attempt at that little inside pass a little earlier in the passing phase than the last one that led to the try. Knocked on, and this Atlanta defense, this is what they do to teams. They put that pressure on, force mistakes. Did it to Nola in week 2. Looking to do it again here against another one of the top teams in the East.
Back to the scrum we go. Duncan Van Skolkwijk. And Rugby ATL trying to make their mark, maybe take the lead with 5 minutes before the half.
Toronto lead MLR with only a couple of first half tries allowed. That number is still at 2. Atlanta with a chance here to perhaps make it 3.
Nell takes the contact, and the co-captain barreling ahead for a few meters. Quick offload over to Gleason. Now Coleman.
Nice.
The missile breaking free.
Just that little delay by Coleman was what gave the missile that space.
Heaton. Didn't get much room there. Mompson. Now left wing, Nell. Coleman. One Skulk fight goes down.
He's got to be careful there. He's a little isolated. Got some late help from Wheeler and Redlinghise, thankfully, otherwise that would have been a turnover.
Nell. Coleman. Deacon. Heaton tried the around the back pass.
It was a good tackle by Leandro Levis. Stopped the initial offload. He did get the second one, though. Went to the ground, but ATL still with it here. Getting good forward momentum. Duncan Van Skolkvijk almost looks like he's dead on his feet. He's done a lot of work this first half. We're going to have a penalty. Plenty of kickable range here for Kurt Coleman to add to these 6 points and potentially give Rugby ATL a lead heading to the break.
He may have slowed up there, knowing that the arm was coming across.
Yeah, you got to leave that scrum half alone at the back of the rucks. That's what Luke Rogan's telling the Arrows now. And Coleman's not going to take the points. He's going to try and get a late try here heading into the half.
We saw that at the end of the Rooney game, trying to get that extra bonus point despite getting the loss, and they had many opportunities to kick it. They were going for the try, and that would be obviously incredible momentum headed into the second half here today.
Yeah, you and I were questioning that decision to go for the try rather than the kick and the guaranteed bonus point. They did get it in the end with the Van Skolkvijk try, but that was a kickable opportunity there for Coleman that he gave up. Hopefully it doesn't come back to haunt them in the end. Obviously, if they score here, it was the right decision. Hindsight's 50-50, right, Chris? We'll see what happens. Good take.
Over to Mompson. Maul not making too much progress yet. Slowly approaching the try zone.
A battle of attrition. Try
Pack
time.
falls, and it's a try.
You can see in the substitutes what they feel about that maul. It was textbook stuff there from the boys in white. Couldn't find the room going forward initially, then oh, we're going to have a little bit the missile getting involved. Tried to crab crawl a little around to the left, and it was a well-formed maul and a try. Hopefully we'll get a look at it, perhaps see who dotted it down.
Just a pack of players as the maul collapsed, and they snuck it in.
Looks like perhaps Mono Redlinghise, he was celebrating. And also celebrating Alex Maughan, I think, was the last one up with the ball.
And it is Maughan getting the try in his fourth start.
We saw him chop down Matthew Bastow a couple of times last week now. Impressing with the 5 points, and Coleman with a chance to add to it here. What a time to score.
Can all kids dressed as superheroes make their way to the field?
Coleman trying to make this a 6-point game after Rugby ATL getting another 5 with the try.
Yeah, but it took Atlanta a little while to get going, but after that water break and that penalty from Coleman, they've really been on the insurgents here in this last 20 minutes. Coleman pushed that one.
Pushed it just a bit wide, and now 3 for 6 on conversions this season.
Remember to follow Rugby ATL.
We asked Scott Lawrence about
Rugby ATL.
what it's like to enter the second half with this side. They were so good against Utah and NOLA coming out of the break, a resurgence on the field. And we were wondering, is it stamina? Is it adjustments? He said really it was adjustments, and that it's something that he and his coaching staff really take a look at. So they're in the lead here, and we'll see what they can add to things in the second half upcoming.
One thing to keep in mind, Atlanta has not allowed a second half try this season, as Duncan Van Skorkveit just kicks it out, and that'll take us to the half.
Halftime here from Lupo Family Field, and Rugby ATL coming back after giving up the early try to score 11 straight. And now they have the lead by 4 at the break. An impressive resurgence after playing some small ball with a few penalties, finding the try through Alex Maughan. The Toronto, the hottest team in the Eastern Conference, last undefeated team in the Eastern Conference. Down by 4 at the break. We'll see what they can come out with in the second half. We have a good one here in Marietta, Georgia. Stay with us as Rugby ATL up by 4 at the break after the try by Alex Maughan. We'll be right back with more coverage from Lupo Family Field.
Welcome back here with head coach Scott Lawrence, and 11 straight points after giving up that initial try. What have you been pleased with in their effort?
I think our continuity in the last 5 minutes of that half was what led to some points on both sides.
The last match, you told me that you wanted to clean up the little mistakes. You wanted to do the small things better. Do you feel like you've done that so far?
I think we did in the later part of the half. Started out, we had a few balls on the floor, and some opportunities I think that went wanting, but we converted those in the end.
First thing you said to me was good game, huh? What have you been pleased with the most?
I think the fight, it's been a good contest. Toronto is a great team. They're one of the top 2 teams in the league at this moment. The boys have played great defense. They've gone forward, and Toronto's just been a great opponent.
Coach, thanks. Good luck.
Thank you.
Guys, back to you.
Thanks, Maria. We'll be right back with more coverage. Rugby ATL up 11-7 at the break.
Get you a new jersey. We need a Rugby ATL jersey for you to wear. What do you think about that? Amazing. So tell me what your superhuman power is today. Running. Yes, I can tell that. High five. You stick with me because you're a winner, and all winners get to stick with me, which means you're all winners. Thank you to our many superheroes. Atlanta, let's give them a round of applause. Only 6 minutes till your Rugby ATL team takes down the Toronto Arrows. This is not a time to be quiet. Get loud, stamp your feet, get behind your Major League Rugby team, and let's take this all the way to the finish line.
Welcome back, everyone. Next Sunday, Rugby ATL is on the road at Old Glory DC at Cardinal Stadium in our nation's capital. That game is on CBS Sports Network starting at 6 p.m. on March 8th. We'll have more from Rugby ATL right after the break.
Let's welcome Rugby ATL back to the field. Rugby ATL would like to thank Catered Southern Events, official caterer of the team and bronze sponsor. Catered Southern Events has been feeding players almost daily and keeping them from going hungry this preseason. If a it's good enough for our players, you know it's good enough for our VIPs and fans. Try out the catered Southern Events food on site at every home game or book your own function at cateredsouthernevents.com. Rugby ATL would like to thank Pure Taqueria in Min Park, the official viewing party for away games, ITB. Pure Taqueria is just as famous for its margaritas as it is for its tacos and queso dip, but most importantly, their friendly service. Head to Pure Taqueria in Min Park every away game to have fun with the Rugby ATL crew for the ITP viewing party. Rugby ATL would like to thank Eastcott Tavern Roswell, the official viewing party venue for away games. Eastcott Tavern, formerly known as Keegan's Public House in Roswell. Make sure you head to Eastcott Tavern Roswell to check out their new refurbishments for every away game and to have fun with the Rugby ATL crew for the OTP viewing party.
Welcome back here to Lupo Family Field, and Rugby ATL up at the half, 11-7, an 11-point comeback after an initial try by Toronto. Again, I'm Chris McCovic, alongside me, Ross Davenport. And Coleman getting set to start us off again. 2 penalties converted for him in the first half, and we're underway. Second 40 here to go from Marietta, Georgia.
One thing this Rugby ATL team has shown so far this season is that they're resilient. They've come back, not to win the second game obviously, but have come back to almost win that one. And obviously beat Nola handily. They've shown they want to play for each other, which is great to see out of a new team especially.
Out of play on the far side, the offload not in time.
Tackled out of bounds, Atlanta line out.
And Atlanta winning back possession on the set piece. Alex Maughan taking it, had a try in the first half.
Don't think we've got any changes for either team that I've seen yet. Probably have to wait. Oh. Actually, I just see Lucas Rumble there coming in the left side of the screen. He's on. As well as Andrew Quatrin at hooker. It appears for Toronto. I don't think any changes for Atlanta.
Nell off to Xander Van Skalkvijk. Here comes Harley Wheeler. A battle with Moore. Both players go down. The ball's out.
Seems going to have a knock-on for Atlanta. Atlanta had the ball, and as you can see Duncan Van Skalkvijk asking how that ball ended up on the Toronto side of things. Let's take another look at it if we can here. Harley Wheeler went down with it. Well, it was almost a strip, and then that was sneaky there by Dan Moore. Got away with that one. Kicked it right out of Harley Wheeler's hands. Neither official apparently getting a good look at it.
And Toronto coming in at the top of the East, 13 points, and only 3 matches played. DC with their victory over Austin yesterday, tying things up at the top for now at 13 points. The Rugby ATL a win today, and they would be at the top of the East.
Yeah, it's not surprising seeing some halftime changes for Toronto. Again, this is their 4th straight road game. Obviously, Atlanta have had 3 of their first 4 games at home. I'm sure we'll see some changes, perhaps by the hour mark for them. But Toronto getting some fresh legs on with the very experienced Lucas Rumble, 35 caps for Canada. Obviously, Andrew Quattrin as well.
And after this, 3 more on the road for Toronto before they're finally at home.
Big scrum there by Toronto. You could see the Atlanta feet struggling to stay in the ground, getting shoved backwards. One part about playing on turf that's tough is that you can't really dig your cleats into the ground like you can on grass. And if you're a forward, you find yourself going backwards. It's hard to stop that momentum. Just like we started the first half, big scrum by the Arrows.
Adams sending it into touch down the field.
Okay.
We'll go down to Maria.
Yeah, guys, when I went over during the break and listened into what the team was talking about in the huddle, co-captain Ryan Nell really took leadership. He's done a great job of that. Scott Lawrence has told me that both of his co-captains have taken that leadership role very seriously. He said, you need to light the fire under yourselves. You need to self-motivate because Toronto is not going to give us this one. Stay sound and play some good rugby.
They certainly have done that to this point. Thanks, Maria. As Rugby ATL coming back to put 11 on the board after an early try by Toronto.
Richie Asiata with half a rumble there. He had 75 meters last week with the ball, did Asiata. Hasn't found as much space today, though. Here he goes now.
Heaton and Nell have been the captains for 3 matches now, the co-captains. Well, last week, Heaton not on the field, so it was Nell as the main captain.
And we're going to have a knock-on in the tackle there, I think, by Cronin Gleason. Yeah, that's you can get in trouble occasionally with those. Get your arm out there and perhaps get called for the intentional knock. But that was part of the tackle there. Gleason, I don't think, meant to knock the ball on. So it will just be a scrum, not a penalty.
Atlanta getting set to make 2 substitutions that will come in the next few moments. As Toronto controls things with a scrum. Ferguson taking control, his 2nd start of the season. Play continues and Rugby ATL picks it up. No, this is coming back.
It's going to have a knock on it. Toronto were crying that Duncan Van Skorkveit was offside. But there was no call. I think he just knocked it on. An attempt to play the ball, perhaps. And have some substitutions. It looks like Alex Morn is coming off.
Indeed he is. And we will see Wengluski come on for Ferrante.
A bit of confusion there. Alex Morn was asking, saying me.
And Bill Hemse also coming off.
Run down, Toronto ball.
A chance for Wengluski, a big time buddy off the bench for ATL. Can't miss him with that haircut.
Started 2 matches this year. This is his 4th appearance overall. Ready Refresh by Nestle Waters keeps the Rugby ATL team hydrated all day long. They also help to keep the players cool while in the sim bin. All Rugby ATL fans can use the promo code in the Game Day magazine and follow the 3 easy steps to get crisp, refreshing water for your home. Head to readyrefresh.com. Toronto enjoying a bit of possession here. They are down by 4, though. It's their first matchup with an Eastern Conference opponent after a visit to Vegas against Houston, along with a visit to Austin and Seattle last week.
It's Manuel Diana with the carry. We haven't heard much from him today. Played very well last week against Seattle. And he's again getting more involved here in the start of the second half. Big Uruguayan.
Uruguayan international, 2 tries at the 2019 World Cup. Levas moving ahead. He had the early try in this matchup, his first of the season.
Well, that was forward, surely. No? Right, to look from our angle here, it looked blatantly forward, but no call.
Toronto continues their attack. Almost breaking free was De La Vega, the Argentine. As now it's Asiata taking it a few meters ahead.
Yeah, much better work here from Toronto. His flat passes getting across the gain line.
Quick flick.
Sarge, that was probably not the best idea to try and get that offload away. He made the half break. It was a good tackle in the end by Johan Momsen that forced the knock on. Didn't allow Sarge to get the pass away. And another knock on, not the first today by Toronto. This time deep inside Atlanta territory. Let's take another look at it here. It was a good half break. Missile with the first contact, and then Momsen came in up top, which forced the knock. Sarge thought he had the half break with the low tackle from the missile, but Momsen came in to force that risky offload. Reading has down here.
One of a number of South Africans on this Rugby ATL side, spending time with in the Leopards 15 and also with Western Province recently.
South African fans will be happy he knocked off the USA Eagles in the USA Sevens today in the quarterfinals. They won't defend their title out in LA.
Rattling Heights, his second start of the season, was really a key figure a few weeks ago, getting a try. He's down getting tended to.
Rugby ATL would like to thank its sponsor, Cumberland Diamond Exchange. Cobb County's community jeweler, passionately engaging relationships since 1982.
And you can hear the accent from your seat at home on the couch. Ross is from England, and he's not too happy with the results in LA, to say the least.
For our Mother's Day event on May
We won't talk about that.
Make sure to buy your tickets.
Stick to Six Nations for now. They're much better at 15s anyway. Probably see Toronto put the pressure on here. See if the addition of Wengluski makes much of a difference. It may. It didn't on that last scrum, though. Look how low they're getting. Toronto, just an absolute destruction job.
Falls for the Arrows, trying to cut back in. Malcolm. A second effort, and suddenly Toronto on the doorstep knocking.
Over the line, but he might have been held up. Yeah, referee had a good view of that one. Guess I'm going to come back for a penalty advantage, though.
Ball held up.
Big stop by ATL. They got into the try zone but couldn't get it down.
So we've got a couple of penalty options for Dan Moore to consider.
He'll keep it right there.
They're going to take the scrum. After that last scrum, I have to agree with that decision. That was an annihilation job. It looks like Corin Gleason complaining about perhaps some boring in from Richie Asiata. You must come in straight as a prop. You start coming in at an angle, it's going to create trouble, and they're going to have a change here. That last scrum prompting a change in the front row for ATL. Julian Montez, I would think.
He's been a regular off the bench this season. 2 appearances. Gleason coming off. Irishman making way for the debut of Erica, South African. She'll be slotting in at the number 3 spot in the 16 kit.
Yeah, me thinking Erica more of a hooker. Obviously capable enough to play tight head prop. We'll see how this experiment goes here. Actually, they may have moved Morn. Morn is a very capable prop, so that's exactly what they've done. Now we get a good look at it. Morn will go to tight head. He's played a lot of prop in the past, converting to hooker of late.
Erica familiar with this field. Spent a few years at Life University. Now 53 minutes into today's match. Some trouble on the scrum.
Yeah, Alex Morn went the distance against Rooney. We had former USA Rugby South Panther Amaru Guda as the backup hooker until today. It's the first we've seen of Neats Herika, excuse me.
Scrum reset. Toronto ball. Another defensive scrum for Rugby ATL. Let's make some noise.
Perhaps brought in exactly for this, his scrummaging prowess in this game, knowing how talented this Toronto front row is.
Ferguson trying to lead the Arrows to a leading try. They'll get possession.
I'm going to call Morn for collapsing it. He could have picked anybody here, and they're just going to go back and have another scrum. ATL has to be very careful here. They don't get a yellow card. It's tough, though, sometimes to see exactly who the culprit is when the scrum is collapsing, but you can see how low Toronto is getting, putting some real pressure on this ATL front row. Erica asking for a bit of an explanation.
Likes to do it again. Another scrum down.
You see Rumble, the number 20 that came on, 35 caps for the Canadian national team. His second year with Toronto. Fans getting into it. ATL trying a try-line stand.
ATL holding their own here. Diana from the back.
Duncan van Skolkvijk, the tear at the kit to keep them out. Quick spin, Deacon the stop.
There's a big tackle there by Ross Deacon. And trying to go over the top. Not good defense from ATL, though. And getting offside call here, though, soon. They're creeping in front of that back foot. Good work there by Momsen.
They're holding in there, fighting for every centimeter. Now they pounce in. And it's try time for Toronto.
It was Tommy De La Vega, I think, finished it off.
Found that little opening and pounced right in, and Toronto takes the lead on the road.
You know, the big boys up front getting their just deserves for that domination in the scrum, turning it into a try.
Rugby ATL would like to thank
both of these last two tries have been quite a mess for either side, but fighting their way in.
Yeah, De La Vega was just the lowest out of everybody. That was what it took to get over the line. Nice quick pickup, and the post defense just wasn't there for Atlanta on that one. Just kind of ran out of gas a little bit. I was going to mention Toronto perhaps dealing with perhaps a bit of fatigue is down the stretch here, but it looks like the front five are going to make sure it's ATL that's feeling the heat.
Up on through for Malcolm, and that makes it a 3-point game as the Arrows take the lead. Some substitutes meanwhile, 57 minutes in. And it will be one for ATL as Coughlin comes on after starting against Rooney.
Coughlin had a great game last week. I think he might have felt a little hard done by, find himself on the bench coming into today. We'll see if he turns that into some good effort here in the final 24 minutes or so. A bunch of not rolling away calls today against ATL. We talked to Coach Silverthorne about how Toronto can get that quick ball. He really talked about it comes from the ball carrier's work and getting that good body position and working hard to get that ball back. And ATL just stopped it on that occasion. Illegally, not legally.
Line out to Toronto. Rugby ATL would like to thank HelloFresh.
We mentioned before that Willemse came off. In came the Canadian Connor Keys out of Ontario at 23 years old. And for Toronto also coming on Mieres, the Uruguayan international, in the 23 today. Also, Rob Brower making his first appearance and also holding on to possession right now.
That was a right mess of a lineup from Atlanta there. Giving the free kick to Toronto. Much the better team here over the last 15 minutes or so.
They'll wind it on back. Quick move in there and then brought down by Coleman.
And that's Gaston Mieres, the Uruguayan winger.
Now it's De La Vega. As Toronto all of a sudden again knocking on the door.
So Mieres is on for Sam Malcolm, which is interesting substitution in a close game like this. Bring off your lethal kicker. Of course, Taylor Adams, I'm sure, can take the responsibilities in the kicking department, which she may do here. Put them up 6. Atlanta's discipline just lacking a little bit now as they find themselves under some real pressure.
Big congratulations to Rugby CIO.
Funny enough, Connor Keys in the middle of that back and forth.
Today. Let's hear it for Roz and Josie.
Now a word with the Rugby ATL co-captain in Heaton.
And that's probably a final warning for slowing things down at the breakdown. You see Matt Heaton addressing his team now, telling him to quit it. You have to think Toronto will take the scrum again here. They don't take the 3 points. See what Dan Moore decides to do. He's having to think about it. And we are going to take the scrum.
And it's more of a debate now with Malcolm coming off.
Well, I mean, I think you're just so dominant at the moment in the scrum situation. You just want to keep turning the screw. And they know they're perhaps one more infraction away from getting Atlanta down to 14 men. That would be a real killer blow here with only 20 minutes to go, perhaps.
Ferguson lining up here, 61 minutes in. Toronto, 3-point advantage, getting the first score of the second half.
And we're having more trouble here. Not sure. It's hard to, without hearing Luke Rogan, it's hard to tell where the warning situation stands. You obviously saw him there give a big warning to Heaton about the continual penalties at the breakdown. Not sure what he said to the ATL front row just yet. I don't think we're quite at the yellow card stage, but perhaps one more and infraction will have a serious warning. See if they can hold their ground at this one. Listen, Toronto have won 10 regular season games in a row for a reason. They're full of capped Canadian players. There goes the shove on now. ATL, both teams popping up.
Ferguson switches directions. Here comes Adam, slings it over. Did he stay in play? Indeed he did. Another try for Toronto, tiptoeing the sideline, and they make it on in, up by 8.
I think it was Sean Coughlin that missed the tackle, and that allowed space to really open up for Taylor Adams. It was a lovely pass and well grabbed on the left wing there by Levis. Let's take another look at it here. Lovely pass by. Yeah, that was not the best effort there by Sean Coughlin, and that forced his teammate to come in from the outside to try and help into Harley Davidson, and that allowed Mieres to tiptoe in for his second try of the day.
And the conversion to come. Suddenly, Toronto 2 consecutive tries here on the road. Here comes Juju Montez as well onto the field for his third appearance.
Say Scott Lawrence trying to throw everything at this scrum to fix it. I don't know if Juju Montez is going to be enough, as good of a player as he is. Former USA collegiate All-American, but this is the pro world here, and these Canadians know exactly what they're doing up front.
Score 21-11 Toronto.
And Toronto up by 10 now. Now Toronto up by 10. Seizing momentum, and Maria on the sideline for us.
Next Sunday, March 8th at 3 p.m., Rugby ATL will travel to the nation's
Guys, next home and next on 11 Alive, Rugby ATL is home 3 weeks from today when visiting New England Free Jacks come to Georgia for 2 p.m. start time. That game on CBS Sports Network. But the next time you can catch Rugby ATL here on WATL is Sunday, April 5th, when Nola Gold visits Lupo Family Field for a 3 p.m. telecast. You can join us then. And guys, honestly, you couldn't ask for more perfect weather. It's been kind of chilly for the previous matches, but today a high of 65, beautiful, just a little bit of clouds in the air. It's a sure thing that all of these fans really enjoy this. It's Superhero Day here as well at the Rugby ATL Toronto Arrows game. People have been wearing their costumes and been getting ready for spring because, as we knew in Georgia, everything is unpredictable here when it comes to weather. Guys, back to you.
Yeah, beautiful conditions here in Marietta. As we can see all the superheroes working their way into the mix. The Incredibles making an appearance. And a great turnout once again, but Rugby ATL trying to turn out the tries at this point to get back into this, as Toronto has taken control of things in the second half.
Yeah, Rugby ATL could do with a superhero in the front row here. Try and stop the damage that's going on at the scrum.
Moore grabbing that one, he goes down.
See Vili Halou on for ATL.
Making his second appearance of the season after starting against NOLA. NOLA nearly taking down San Diego yesterday. That should be a good matchup coming in April.
Get a Toronto player down. Play can continue in rugby if there's a player getting treated, unless it's for a head injury, but obviously that play was getting too close to the injured player, so Luke Rogan blew it up, quite rightly so. And that's Dan Moore down. Looks like it'd be in some pain with that left knee.
Halou coming on for Ross Deacon. And Coleman down as well. here 64 minutes in. Helu, the native of California, and was a captain and All-American at St. Mary's College. Dan Moore leading the league in tries entering the week. And Coleman, pretty steady limp there as he gets back on his feet.
See you next Sunday at 8 at our 2 viewing party venues.
Helu trying to get some energy in his side. Down by 10. About 15 minutes remaining. Here's what happened on that last action.
Yeah, looks like he just got hurt in the tackle. It's more perhaps Coleman just rolled over his knee. Seems to be trying to run it off though. Not a time for Toronto to wanting to lose their captain, that's for sure.
For Toronto, Mitch Richardson coming on.
So I guess Moore couldn't run that one off. He's going to take the break. Hopefully he'll be all right for the Friday game. Again, a quick turnaround for the Arrows.
Now Friday, they'll see the Raptors. So they just saw their first victory of the season against Utah.
Still continuing to have trouble at the scrum. Rob Brower, the veteran that he is, this is the kind of situation that I'm sure a veteran loosehead prop loves to come into. A struggling young front row in front of him and all the tricks in the book up his sleeve. It's good reason. Luke Rogan's on that side of the scrum, I bet.
Duckett van Skolkvijk trying to lead Rugby ATL back on top. They had 11 unanswered before Toronto came out of the break, scoring 2 tries.
And here we go backwards again, but at least they got it back quickly that time. Redden has now at 8.
Coughlin. Wengluski.
Yeah, Wengluski went on his own there. Didn't have anybody else with him. The result was a turnover, no complaints there from the prop. I'm sure Scott Lawrence might be seething a little bit at that decision by Wengluski to go off on his own.
For Rugby ATL, just the battle in the trenches. Too much today.
Similar, a little bit similar to the Rooney game. Just those big bodies from Toronto wearing down the ATL defense a little bit and then really turning it on in the scrum when they get those tired legs and arms, when those binds don't get quite as tight in that second half. And you've got some substitutions coming on like Rumble, Quatrin, and Brower. Some serious beef.
And talking to Chris Silverthorne ahead of the match today, he saw a real opportunity in the set pieces to drive ATL backwards, and that's exactly what they did today. Took the physicality to them. And now 67 minutes in, the momentum clearly with the Arrows.
You can see Luke Rogan warning ATL not to close the gap on the line out. Having some trouble with this 4-man system used here by Toronto, excuse me.
Rugby ATL has a defensive line out in their own territory. Let's make some noise, Atlanta.
You can see the concerned look on the ATL fans' faces in the stands. That tells you all you need to know about how this match has gone here in the last half hour or so.
Mobson almost getting a touch there, but Toronto keeping possession.
Good work there by Matt Heaton, though. Had his hands on that ball.
Penalty awarded to Atlanta. Toronto holding the ball in.
Great body position by the Canadian. See if Kurt Coleman can get the ATL boys down deep here into Toronto territory and perhaps get a score on the board before the last 10 minutes start ticking off the board.
And Momsen, the 2019 Western Province Club Player of the Year. South African has shown it coming to the MLR, one of the key figures, physicality-wise, really, among the Rugby ATL starting group. A line out here. Scooped up by Keys. Now to the left side. Helu is knocked away. Coughlin pouncing on it. Toronto getting the ball back, though.
Yeah, first time we've really seen Billy Helu get the charge run this season. Knocked it on in contact. I mean, another minute or two will tick off the clock with ATL not being in possession.
Another scrum for Rugby ATL. Helu, one of the number of faces Rugby ATL brought from their 404 squad that played last fall.
Find out more yourself at ctic.com.
A kick downfield for Toronto. Matched by Talapusi. Just came on. No one driven downfield. Mieres. Now Coleman breaking through.
Lovely.
The offload. Helu now taken down just before the try line.
And a penalty. Is it perhaps a high tackle on Helu? Lovely break by Kurt Coleman. If there's anybody going to bring ATL back into this game, it's going to be that man. It's a lovely break. Unfortunately, he was hoping to have a winger on the outside, but he only had Billy Helu. We're going to have a discussion here between Luke Rogan and his assistant referee. Perhaps we get another look at that tackle in a second. He's perhaps trying to confirm what he thought he saw.
The former Stormer Coleman finding the lane and breaking through.
We'll have a word with Lucas Rumble. It's going to be a yellow card. What a time to get a yellow card. That's going to be pretty much the end of the game for Rumble. He's only going to get 30 seconds now at the end of this contest. And we've seen some yellow cards help Atlanta this year. Against Rooney, they got the yellow and then got the quick try right after that. Another key yellow card early this season. It ends the ready refresh sin bin will be Lucas Rumble. Let's take another look at it here.
And it was Ferguson getting the yellow card there.
We see Rumble coming in there and killing the ball. That's exactly what it was. Tackle was fine. Rumble came in perhaps from the side and stopped the quick ball.
Ray refresh by Nestle Waters keeps the Rugby ATL team hydrated all day long. They also help to keep players cool while in the sin bin. All Rugby ATL fans can use the promo code in the Game Day magazine and follow the 3 easy steps to get crisp, refreshing water for your home. Head to ReadyRefresh.com. And Ferguson in the Ready Refresh sin bin here with, as you said, Ross, about 30 seconds left after he serves his 10 minutes.
Yeah, that first yellow was against Utah, and Saya Uhila went off, and ATL really took over from there. It's going to be a try.
Here comes ATL, and they're in. And to your point, Ross, taking the opportunity well, as they have 5 on the board, and some words afterwards. Connor Keys once again in the middle. There's that Canadian rivalry between teammates internationally.
I think it was Neitz Harika that ended up with the ball over the line. It was a great ball. There's Harika at the back, number 16. One of the easiest ones he'll surely score. But ATL right back in this game now.
Harika scoring a try in his first appearance for Rugby ATL off the bench. And now can Coleman take it within a penalty? This one curling, but it finds itself on through the upright. And we have a 3-point game. And still, of course, about 9 minutes left. A man up for ATL.
The yellow card was to Ferguson. He was talking to Rumble, who now must be captain. with the loss of Dan Moore to that knee injury.
The producer for Hit Band TLC, who's in the crowd today, cheering on Rugby ATL.
Adams being set to send this off, and Toronto 2 tries to start the second half, and now suddenly ATL and the crowd getting some momentum like they did a week ago via a card.
And Ferguson off. Arrows are going to have to go with Raleigh DiNardo, the 5'5" scrum half. You can see him there, number 21. Only the 7's experience, normally the third string scrum half with behind McKenzie and Ferguson, but being called into action here in a very key moment.
Coleman straight to Adams, who's brought down from behind by Montez.
You heard some cries from the Canadian fans in the crowd there looking for the high tackle, but no call.
Redling-Heist getting the initial tackle there. De La Vega spinning. Can't get much space, though, to work.
Yeah, discipline in your own half. With Sam Malcolm off the field, this might not be a kickable range for Taylor Adams. Let's see what he decides to do here. With a 3-point lead, he's probably going to, he's going to go for points.
Toronto elects for a kick it goal.
And it will be Adams. 1 for 1 on conversions so far this season entering today.
You see him just gain an extra yard by moving the ball a little closer to the posts and still kicking it forward. And you see the crowd noticed it, but the referee didn't, and that's the key thing. If this one goes I think Luke Rogan reacted to the crowd, perhaps. Hopefully he's getting some help from his ARs. That was where exactly that ball was. Nice try, though.
Little laugh there from our head official. A long one here coming for Adams that could really put some pressure on ATL in response to that try.
Well struck. Just left.
And wide, and you can sense that from the ATL cheer. A 3-point game it remains.
We saw Kurt Coleman substituted in the last game against Rooney. He's certainly not going off this field today. Let's take a look at that hit again. I thought it was on rumble initially, but as you can see there, there was the initial hit from Ferguson. There was no wrap attempt, just dropped his shoulder. It was on the initial tackle. No wrap from Ferguson, and that was the reason for the yellow card. Didn't realize Rumble was now captain, but correct decision there by Luke Rogan.
And Ferguson remains out of play for mostly the remainder of this match. If ATL can get some momentum going. Wengluski, a big tackle.
The lucky thing for Ferguson is that he has some defensive help over there, because if Ferguson had been the only tackler in the vicinity and had tackled without the wrap, that would have been a yellow card and a penalty try and the automatic 7 points.
Offload to De La Vega.
Of course, ended up being 7 anyway for ATL. Now some more discipline issues.
And Montez a little slow getting back as the ball hit him. Adams will take the opportunity with this for a line out to come if he can. You like that one?
Toronto elects for line out.
About 20 meters out to start their attack here. As you can see, Toronto taking their sweet time to get to this line out. They know exactly the situation here with this 3-point lead and just over 5 minutes remaining. In no hurry to get the ball back into play.
Free Jacks on Sunday, March 22nd.
Run ball, dropping it off. They were going to go for the maul, but now working the right wing. Detroit takes it ahead.
ATL on that line out. Gonna have a yellow card here. And it's going to be evened up now at 14-all. There's professional foul there, slowing down the ball. Once again, you can see Lucas Rumble already signaling for the scrum. ATL wanted the knot straight on that line out. It looked like Luke Rogan was going to blow his whistle and then decided not to. And the try scorer needs Hurka. Will spend the rest of this game on the sideline.
All even at 14, as both cards will take us to the 80-minute mark. And Toronto going to do what they do so well this afternoon on the scrum.
Let's take a look here and see if we can see where the Garicki makes the initial tackle. Yeah, it just doesn't roll away there, just kind of hangs out. A little harsh. He was trying to make an effort to get out of there, but I think it's more of a cumulative effect of all the penalties that have been going against ATL at the breakdown for slowing the ball down. Hurka knew what he was doing. You have to think he knows the situation just as well as everybody else on the field. Trying to slow the ball down to help his defense get back in position. What are the odds this first scrum goes down, Chris?
It fit with the theme so far today.
They're trying. Nice scrum, though, both sides.
Broadcaster jinx from Ross, and it's knocked free by Coleman.
Big
and it
tackle
goes
there.
to Rugby ATL there.
Not often Kurt Coleman's going to find a player smaller than him to tackle. He found it there with Donardo, forced the knock on. ATL will have a chance here. 3.5 minutes remaining. You got a long way to go, but chance for get inside that 40-meter line and get a penalty. Coleman will take it. As you see Curtis Werner in there at scrum half now for ATL.
Scrum down, Atlanta ball.
See if they decide to run this out. You'd have to think at this point that's the only option. Not normally a decision you make from inside your 22, but when you're down 3 with 3 minutes to go, you have to take some drastic decisions. And we'll see what Kurt Coleman has up his sleeves here. If they can win this scrum, though, and Toronto just destroying it again, forcing the Atlanta front row to pop up. And this should be an easy 3 points. Yeah, the scrum's really been the difference in this second half for ATL. Just have no answers for what this Toronto front 5 is throwing at them.
Standing up at the scrum to call.
See Rumble going to take a few more seconds off the clock to make the decision. And he's going to go, and they're going to take the scrum. Interesting.
Toronto elects for a scrum.
You can understand it in that it takes another minute or so off the clock, but I think you'd rather have yourself up 6 than up 3.
Well, with the physicality they've been using, if they're able to get this try somehow in the next 2 minutes or so, they would then really put it out of reach for ATL, something they dealt with in last week's matchup. They would be down by 8 pending the conversion.
Luke Rogan apparently had his watch stopped there after that decision. We'll see if Toronto keep this one up. I think if they go down once, they would at least get a potential reset and another 30 seconds off the clock. We'll see what happens. Maybe it's just the cynic in me. Oh. Luke Rogan's going to say it was Atlanta coming a little too far forward, but again, nobody in blue is going to be complaining.
Of course, next week's matchup at DC on the road on CBS SN. You can catch that at East Cobb Tavern, formerly known as Keegan's Public House in Roswell. Make sure you head to East Cobb Tavern, Roswell, to check out their new refurbishment and every away game to have fun with the Rugby ATL crew for the OTP viewing party. Back to the scrum And Toronto in control, trying to hold on for the victory. They move to the outside and the run on in. Try time again for the Arrows, and this will put this one away as they go up by 8 on ATL.
Well, that was far too easy, and especially as it costs Atlanta the bonus point. Sean Coughlin's going to have a word with the Uruguayan. And she's going to have a word with Taylor Adams, I should say, who's got the ball in his hand now to take the conversion, but an easy stroll in for Gaston Mieres. That was far too easy. He did score a try in the semi-final last season. Missed the last game with an upper body injury, but all sorts of confusion as Luke Rogan went down. Got back up in time, though, and that was far too easy. All sorts of big holes in the defenses. 2 ATL players collapsed on the inside man, and Mieres strolled it. That's a costly try for ATL, as you said. They lose the bonus point now. Just a bit of indiscipline at the scrum, and that'll do it.
Add 2 more to the score line, and Toronto taking this one on the road, and another frustrating home performance for Rugby ATL. Close to the end, but not getting the full 4 points on the table. And now they will head on the road at DC next week to try and break this recent losing skid. They fall 28-18 against Toronto, who, by the way, stay undefeated along with San Diego here in the MLR early season before they have 3 more road matchups.
Please be sure to follow Rugby ATL on social media for updates throughout the season at Rugby ATL. For full team roster schedule, tickets, and merchandise, please visit rugbyatl.rugby.
Welcome back here to Lupo Family Field. Toronto taking this one 28-18. Stewart's national title and escrow services contribute to an enjoyable buying or selling experience. It doesn't matter whether you're a home buyer, home seller, lender, broker, or real estate agent. They never stop working to make real estate services an enjoyable experience and to back every title insurance policy with leading underwriting expertise. Maria, down on the field now with co-captain Matt Heaton.
Yeah, and Matt, you are a Canadian, so obviously you knew a lot of the guys that played for the Arrows today. Talk about the difficulty of doing that, and you just said how good they were.
Yeah, a lot of these guys play together really consistently with Canada. I played with a lot of these guys. You know, I know some of the tactics that they were going to throw at us. I know some of the tendencies that some of the boys have. So, yeah, no, it was a really fun game. You know, upsetting that we didn't get the win.
You guys are a young team. There was a lot of chirping going on throughout the whole match. Do you feel like all of the physicality and all of that was going on is a good measuring stick for this young club?
Yeah, I think going forward, as we get more experience, you know, playing together, we keep building these connections. Obviously, we're just going to keep getting better and better.
A lot of penalties and against a club that is very, very talented. How much do you think this can be a learning experience, and what do you take away from those last couple minutes of this one?
Yeah, I mean, momentum is huge in rugby. When you've got a team on the back foot and you can capitalize on that, it is really demoralizing as that team that is getting scored on. And you could see it in the game. We had opportunities where we had them on the back foot. We gave away a simple penalty, and all of a sudden we're back in our half and we're under pressure. So if we can eliminate some of those things from our game, I think going forward we'll be a lot better team.
All right, Matt, thanks so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Guys, back to you.
Thanks, Maria, and thanks, Matt. Of course, disappointing and Ross to the day for Rugby ATL after really dominating the set pieces were Toronto Arrows.
Yeah, I mean, that Kurt Coleman break that led to that try looked like ATL were going to be right back in it, but then a bit of indiscipline and back to those scrums, and it was always going the way of the Arrows. And listen, there's 2 losses to 2 of the teams that could well find themselves at the top of the East when all is said and done. Rooney's no slouches, and obviously the Arrows aren't either.
And now back to the field, Maria with the head man himself, Scott Lawrence.
Guys, thank you. This was obviously a tough one, and as the last couple minutes have transpired, what did you see that changed and ultimately gave Toronto the win?
I think it was the penalty count was 10-2 against us in the second half. I didn't think it was ill discipline from our players. I think we've got plenty of work to do with our referees and giving them some feedback in the league.
Last match against Rooney, you told me that there was going to be a lot of aha moments. Were there aha moments in this one for you?
I thought they played hard the entire game. I thought they really pushed themselves. We played great defense, and I think we should have gotten a reward on a couple of those.
Do you feel like, as physical of a match as this was, that was a good measuring stick for your young team?
Oh, I think it's great. Toronto is a very experienced side. They're really cohesive. They're one of the best teams in the league right now, and I think it was a great test for us.
Coach, thanks so much. Good luck in DC.
Thank you.
Guys, back to you.
Thanks, Maria, and a disappointing day for Rugby ATL, but Toronto Arrows on the other side, commanding lead now in the Eastern Conference. They'll be at the top spot entering Week 5 when they take on Colorado Friday night. I'd like to thank our entire crew, Maria Martin on the sideline today, and Ross Davenport alongside me. I'm Chris Makoviak. Rugby ATL, plenty to build from in this recent home skid as I head on the road at DC next week, 3 p.m. Eastern Time, a week from today on CBS SN. Have a great afternoon, everyone, and of course, enjoy some more MR action coming later this evening. Yeah, and Matt, you are a Canadian, so obviously